The dashingly handsome Luigi is taking the internet by storm. A Mario man myself, I cannot help but admit I always have liked Luigi too. In this instance, I am talking about Luigi Mangione, the 26-year-old suspect in the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, arrested and charged with second-degree murder along with several other offenses just recently. And this entire situation has taken America, specifically social media, by storm. And to be honest with you, it's highlighting a very distinct division in how America gets and receives news. First, let's talk about the facts surrounding this case. On Monday, December the 9th, 2024, authorities apprehended Mangione at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, after an alert. He recognized him from wanted photos and then contacted the police by calling 911. When taken into custody, Mangione was in possession of a 3D printed semi-automatic pistol with a suppressor, believed to be the murder weapon, along with counterfeit identification cards and handwritten notes that hinted at his motives. In addition to facing a murder charge in New York, Mangione is also charged in Pennsylvania for illegal possession of a firearm, forgery, and providing false identification to law enforcement. Now, some people are wondering why he did it. According to a confidential New York Police Department assessment, Mangione allegedly viewed the killing as a sort of symbolic takedown of UnitedHealthcare over what he perceived to be corruption. And that's what they're saying. This is supposedly based on his handwritten notes, which express disdain for corporate America and frustration with our healthcare system. Now, this is where a number of content creators on social media come in. One being is Dinah, who explores this in her commentary regarding his alleged manifesto. Take a look at this.
Someone found what appears to be this man's manifesto, but it was posted online almost a year ago. This is from his Goodreads account. It was posted on January 31st of this year, and the book is Industrial Society and Its Future, which reads as a manifesto in itself. Here's what his review says. Clearly written by a mathematics prodigy, reads like a series of lemmas on the question of 21st century quality of life. It's easy to quickly and thoughtlessly write this off as the manifesto of a lunatic in order to avoid facing some of the uncomfortable problems it identifies. But it's simply impossible to ignore how prescient many of his predictions about modern society turned out. He was a violent individual, rightfully imprisoned, who maimed innocent people. While these actions tend to be characterized as those of a crazy Luddite, however, they are more accurately seen as those of an extreme political revolutionary. A take I found online that I think is interesting, in quotation, had the balls to recognize that peaceful protests had gotten us absolutely nowhere, and at the end of the day, he's probably right. Oil barons haven't listened to any environmentalists, but they feared him. When all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. You may not like his methods, but to see things from his perspective, it's not terrorism, it's war and revolution. Fossil fuel companies actively suppress anything that stands in their way, and within a generation or two, it will begin costing human lives by greater and greater magnitudes until the Earth is just a flaming ball orbiting third from the sun. Peaceful protest is outright ignored. Economic protest isn't possible in the current system. So how long until we recognize that violence against those who lead us to such destruction is justified as self-defense? These companies don't care about you or your kids or your grandkids. They have zero qualms about burning down the planet for a buck. So why should we have any qualms about burning them down to survive? We're animals, just like everything else on this planet, except we've forgotten the law of the jungle and bend over for our overlords when any other animal would recognize the threat and fight to the death for their survival. Violence never solved anything is a statement uttered by cowards and predators. End quote. What do you guys think? This guy was a valedictorian and he went to UPenn for computer science. So this just seems like it's the tip of the iceberg.
And noted journalist Tori X discusses this motivation as well in this piece of short form content. Check this out.
Luigi Mangione is a child of wealth who was radicalized by intense back pain. Pain so severe that he did not think he could live a normal life with it. I did a deep dive into Luigi's life on my Substack. It seems that the critical moment was in 2022. He was living in Hawaii then at a co-living space, and the people who were with him there say he was lovely, he was brilliant, he was a leader, he was a big part of their book club. They also watched him grapple with a very serious back issue that left him laying in bed for a week writhing in traumatic pain. He had back surgery, but his pain and his anger at the healthcare industry only multiplied. He's a kid from one of the wealthiest families in Maryland. His grandfather got rich in part by owning a lot of elder care centers, which means that he got a lot of money from insurance companies. This year, for about the last 6 months, he has been completely off the grid, not talking to anyone, friends, family. There's lots of messages on different social media with friends saying, hey, where are you? Your family's looking for you. Haven't heard from you. Are you coming to my wedding like you said you would? Where are you? What's going on? On November 18th, his mother reported him as missing. It seems like a time of depression and fugue and dealing with trauma. He emerges from this 6 months of not talking to anyone in his life, like going to New York. He recently read J.D. Vance's Hillbilly Elegies. He read 2 books about Elon Musk, loves Tucker Carlson. I think this guy is Trumpy. He's officially unaffiliated with any political party. He was caught with $8,000 in cash, in U.S. cash, and $2,000 in cash in a foreign currency, and a sleeve that prevents a cell phone from transmitting data. So he was trying to get out of here. He was trying to get to another country for sure. Check out my whole deep dive on his life on my Substack.
Mainstream media has continually showed this as a violent, heinous crime with a dangerous murderer at the helm. But see, many of us, me too, see this as something a little bit different. Many are portraying this man as a folk hero vigilante who is taking down a predatory system. And in some ways, that's true. As a black queer man in America who grew up in a trailer on a dirt road in rural Mississippi, I get it. I get it. We, the majority of us, the 99% of us, are the victims of corporate, power-hungry systems of oppression that hurt all of us, punish all of us, oppress all of us who are not in the 1% billionaire ruling class. So I understand and I get it. But the death of a man, no matter how well compensated, to do the evil work of maintaining that oppressive system is not something that I can personally celebrate. I can't. The victim, Brian Thompson, was 50 years old. He was a husband. He leaves a wife. He was a father. He leaves 2 kids. He was someone's friend in this world, and there are people in this world who mourn him, even if I am not one of them. So I cannot celebrate the loss of a human life, and it does not matter to me that he made $10.2 million a year, or that under his leadership, UnitedHealthcare generated $281 billion in revenue, although it kind of does, but I really wish it didn't, but it kind of does. But still, even with it does mattering, it isn't something that I can sit here as a principled human being, as a believer and follower of the teachings of Jesus Christ, and say I celebrate, because I can't celebrate it. And although I can't celebrate it, it doesn't mean, however, that I could just simply ignore it and gloss over the fact that this is a large sentiment that I'm seeing on social media. And that is where I'm seeing the difference in what mainstream media is doing and how it's being shared on social media. See, mainstream media, again, is covering this like any other murder that you have seen on the news. And it's definitely slanting it as though Luigi Mangione is this really horrible, cruel villain, and Brian Thompson and now every other CEO who is at risk is just victimized by a really cruel misguided act of violence. And also, as a man who is principled and moral and grounded in an ethical place, I can't agree with that either, because that's not totally the whole story. One man has lost his life, and it is tragic. While due to the neglect of our healthcare system, while due to the absolute failure and willful decision to harm people, UnitedHealthcare has killed thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands, if not going up into the millions of people, and who they have denied adequate and appropriate and fair healthcare to. That is a part of the story that mainstream media should be telling. You see, Brian Thompson was a small part of a big problem, because his life and sadly his death meant very little, if anything, to the overall system that really is the big problem. When this man died, the shareholder meeting that he was going to chair, it continued on like nothing happened while this man's dead body was in the middle of the street. See, all of us should be raging at that system, not so much at that man. UnitedHealthcare is the problem. UnitedHealthcare deserved that final end. But, still, I understand. Some people see Mangione's alleged actions as a symbolic strike against what they perceive as corporate greed and unfairness in the healthcare industry, and there's very little that any of us can do to change it. The killing of this high-profile executive has resonated with so many people who feel frustrated with the current state of our healthcare system, where our lives, our health, our well-being is being held hostage. We feel unheard and taken advantage of by large industries, primarily healthcare, particularly healthcare. And Mangione's alleged manifesto criticizing healthcare companies and corporate America has struck a chord with those of us who feel and share similar frustrations. That's why hashtags like Free Luigi have gained traction across almost every single social media platform, suggesting that, again, we view him as an anti-establishment figure, our very own modern-day Robin Hood Batman character. Many of us who are projecting our own anger and frustrations onto him, seeing his alleged actions as a form of retribution against an extremely unfair and unjust system. So I say, if we cannot free Luigi, which I do not think would be right, I can say, may God grant him grace and mercy during his time of judgment. Okay, that's what I can say as a good, principled man. And for those of us who are free but burdened by these systems, maybe the incoming Trump administration will make American healthcare better. It's possible. It is. And, only time will tell. Okay, we'll see. With that being said, be well, be blessed, and whatever you do, keep pushing. Free Luigi, and I'll see you soon.